Be Frankie.
Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out, we're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out, we're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out, we're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out, we're stuck in the matrix.
Yo, what's good? It's your boy B-Dell. If you're new to the channel, hit that like button, hit the share button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. But today we're going to be breaking down the dynamics of the great balls of fire and the sleep spell Leviathan that's based on suppression of the mind and the accumulation of the growth of ignorance, which is the precursor to the state of miserable stagnated conditions, meaning that there's no evolution or an ascension process for you because you're stuck in third density, which is a fixed position reality, right? So these are the afflictions of the three-dimensional realm as it starts to propagate everything that's activated by nature, right? So, hold on for a second. So with that being said, everything is conducive to the timeline of the Canaanite because the Canaanite's power is based around the corporate legal fiction of the de facto corporation, right? So this is why it's imperative that you got to read a holy Bible, which is the Apocrypha, a Freemasonic Apocrypha from 1813. And this Bible is from 1813. And according to this publication, it says from the year 2023 is actually year 5,999. So the end of the 6,000 year verification period is actually in 2024. So that's why they're trying to implement a digital control system, a crypto control system that's based on the mark of the beast principles under the continuity of government. So this is why it tells you all throughout many different Dr. York publications that in 2030 that it's basically the end of this whole corporate system, the whole matrix. So this is why you see in many different calamities. So this is why you see in many different events, and because the timeline is crucial to the occult that's being propagated by the Freemasonic order, right? So this is why they're putting out stuff like this in these publications. The doomsday clock, right? Nearing apocalypse. Because the apocalypse, when you break down the etymology of it in cuneiform language, it means to reveal what is hidden. What is hidden? Everything that's activating these, everything in nature is activating. Meaning that it's basically uplifting the veil. I already put a video talking about the veil being uplifted because the veil in itself is connected to the energy grid, right? So this is why you see all these coronal mass ejections in the activation of nature, because these are the centripetal and the centrifugal forces cooperating together, and they creating a unification process of unity consciousness. So it starts with the fall of the United States because time is almost up, right? So there are many different ways to prepare, you know what I'm saying, for the collapse in itself. Like I said, this is why they've been putting out stuff like this, all these alerts. Massive emergency alert tests will sound alarm on the United States cell phones, TVs, radios in October, right? Which is conducive to the October surprise video that I put out not too long ago, right? Because all these things, you know, have to come to pass. Because during the time of October, I told you during that time period of the solar eclipse on my birthday, October 14th, that's not a coincidence. That is going to be the inception point of justice to balance out the afflictions of the planet, to combat the negative polarity that was propagated by the Canaanite bloodline, who was doing the bidding of the black nobility, who are the draconian archons who control the three-dimensional realm. Because they don't have control over this realm no more, because you having a unification process of the higher dimensions, basically starting to deconstruct everything that was activated by the corporate system. So all this stuff, when you're talking about Putin, claims the US dollar is losing its global role, right? Because I told you that the BRICS nation is basically conducive to a food rationing passport, and that food rationing passport is acclimated to the crypto control system that works on the market of beast principles. And those market of beast principles is under the continuity of government, meaning that it's going to implement a new world order system, because out of chaos you get order under the Freemasonic principles. So this is all conducive to the Hegelian dialectic principle, problem, reaction, solution. So India may soon be forced to choose between BRICS in the West. So now this is, very imperative to understand, because everything when you're talking about BRICS, like I said, it's a crypto control system that's connected to a universal based income, and that universal based income is acclimated to the smart cities, right? So a lot of people, they say that the great majority of these forest fires and all these fires and all these calamities on the planet is being activated by direct energy weapons, but you can't negate the fact that the planet is going through a cleansing state due to the UV radiation like spectrum speeding up in vibration due to the activation of the Schumann resonance. So we also going through a pole shift. So it's also kind of one of those things where it's 50-50. It could be one of those things where it's being activated by the deep state shadow government, the Trilateral Commission, right? And it's also being activated by nature. So that's why, due to the Canaanite rulership, they know that their time is up. So how do you know that they're not trying to speed up this process, right? Because they know that their time is up. You know what I'm saying? They only have temporal power on this planet, because I showed you in the 1813 Freemasonic Apocryphal Bible, it tells you verbatim that the year of 2023 is actually equated to the year of 5,999. The end of the 6,000 years is in 2024, right? Which is also where you got that April 8th solar eclipse, where it goes through 7 cities called Jerusalem, Salem, right? Which means peace, right? That is the covenant that they went against, that basically that we had control over the land masses. When you go to the 1848 Supreme Court decision on June 6th, it tells you that the title holders of the geographical landmass are the MERS, the indigenous MERS that's connected to the 5 civilized tribes, right? So that's why it's imperative to understand that you're going through a transmutation process of power. Everything is going back into a matriarch under the energy of nature. So that's why nature is taking back the planet. So now we got to go back to this. I'm going to show you guys something in this publication. So what you got to understand is that the great balls of fire, these coronal mass ejections, these X solar flares, these M-class solar flares, this is nature fighting back. This is the return of the ancestral energy, right? Because as I told you before, these coronal mass ejections are basically the Ethereum frequencies and the souls of the ancestors who died all throughout those ancient civilizations. Their energy is being casted back down on the planet to reverse the polarity of the democratic order, which is under a totalitarian technocracy, right? So this is why Mother Nature is fighting back, right? So when you go to this publication by Dr. Malachi Z. York, The Great Balls of Fire Cast to the Earth, it tells you that the great supreme power that made the earth, which is the heavens and the sky, the women, the animals, when you understand the inception point of intrinsic creation, all these things got to come to pass, because like I said, Mother Nature, the Netaru, has to fight back. Everything is being activated by the energy of nature, right? So because a reason everything is being activated by the energy of nature, you got to read this other publication by Dr. Malachi Z. York called Breaking the Spell. And the spell is meaning that you're basically deviated from the right knowledge that's connected to the Bathory gland, which is also synonymous to the hippocampus layer of the brain, to where you activate the right knowledge, to where you have right wisdom and right understanding that basically combats the energy of all the afflictions and the ignorance that's being propagated by this patriarchal system, right? So like I said, right knowledge is basically the inception point to basically combat the energy of the sixth ether sleep spell, right? Because you're under the sleep spell. The sleep spell is basically you're under the spell of religion. You're under the spell of money. You're under the spell of materialism. You're under the spell of the matrix system that is galvanized by a corporate power, right? And that corporate power, meaning that you're subjugated from liberation, salvation, right? So these opposing forces takes you away from your mental and physical capacity to where you can activate yourself as a supreme being on this planet and live in your divinity, live in your sovereignty, right? So like I said, it's one of those things where when you break the spell, that means that you're operating from a place of 0 point energy, which is the path of the middle way, which is the path of Malakut, right? So when you're on the path of Malakut, that means you deviated from all forms of materialistic perceptions, right? So, but we're going to go right back to this slides over here. So like I said, this is why the money system, the sleep spell is conducive to the money system, because the money system in itself is galvanized by the energy of the moon. I told you the 6,000 years is up in 2024, right? Because you can't have materialism. You can't have the spell of King Gu, the spell of Leviathan in a sun cycle, right? It says giant sunspots seen by Mars Perseverance rover may soon disrupt Earth's power grids, right? Because the energy grid works on the quadrants of the moon, right? So when you have these influx of cosmic radiations and energies coming to the planet, this basically dematerialized the ionized particles that's connected to the fermented dome to where these new energies can come in and manipulate the grid system, right? Because when you have a manipulation in the grid system, this is where the ozone layer starts to be basically depleted, to where you have these ultraviolet waves coming in, which is, you know, causing all these afflictions on the planet, all these calamities, right? Whether you could say it's one of those things is being done by the deep state shadow government, or it could be done by the energy of nature. So like I said, a lot of people are, you know, at a conflict of interest when it comes to this information. You cannot, you know, nature is so powerful to the point where you cannot negate the energy of nature and then, you know, make all these psychological operations acclimated to the governmental system. They don't have that much power, right? They can only do so many things on this planet. So like I said, nature also has a direct energy weapon. These energies, these cosmic radiations, these centrifugal radiations coming to the planet, these tetraangular radiations that has the tetrahedron energy, that is energies, that is nature's way of creating a direct energy weapon to basically dematerialize everything that was created by mankind, all these businesses and everything that's going up in flames, right? Everything on the planet is activating. Because if you pay attention to anything, when you understand, like, you know, westernized technology and artificial intelligence and under a technocrat system, everything that they do is basically mimicking everything that's being created by nature, right? So like I said, a solar flare, M-class solar flares, X-class solar flares, these are nature's direct energy weapons, right? So this is why you have stuff like this going on, right?
What? Oh, I've never seen it like this either. What's going on? What?
You see what I'm saying? Everything is activating. Everything in nature is starting to activate. Why? Because their time is up, right? And you're going to see a lot more of these in the year 2024 because, like I said, time is speeding up. This is why when you go outside sometimes, you can see the sun and the moon out at the same time, right? But that's because the time analysis mechanism is starting to reverse its own polarity, right? Meaning that, you know, time in itself is not acclimated to the energy of nature because nature doesn't deal with time. It doesn't deal with the construct of maritime law under the afflictions of a time analysis mechanism. Like I said, it doesn't work on the same principles. Nature works on the energy of seasons. Seasons is acclimated to the time frequency of nature that's connected to humans through a carbonated energy on this planet. So time in itself is created by mankind. Seasons is created by nature. So this is why you have stuff like this going on.
This motherfucking sister's house. See if it makes it or not. I might not make it. Oh. Come on, chicken! Don't look like the truck's gonna make it. I don't think the house is gonna make it neither. Yep.
Like I said, it's one of those things where you cannot blame everything on the government. Everything is not, being activated by the deep state government. You know what I'm saying? You can't negate the fact that the planet is going through a cleansing state. The planet is going through a metamorphic shift. The planet is going through a great purification period, right? That's because you have the supersonic energy, which is the battery of planet Earth, the black sun inside the planet, activating all these tetrahedron energies on the planet. Because like I told you, when you understand the unification process of the centripetal and the centrifugal forces, that is the heavens amalgamating with the three-dimensional world, right? So when you have that unification process, that activates the fire in the middle, which is a pyramid. That's when you break down the etymology of the word pyramid and the prefix of the suffix, right? It means fire in the middle, and that fire in the middle is the black sun that was basically propagated all throughout ancient occultism. When you understand the literature in the context of the Theosophical Society, when you talk about Madame Blavatsky and stuff like this, and Aleister Crowley, they knew about these activations and these new energies that's going to be coming in. That's why it's all connected to Freemasonry, right? This is why Albert Pike taught these things all throughout the Freemasonic order, right? Because they knew that the time would come that is going to be the end of their the end of their purification period. So it says right here, this is happening in Jamaica, that fire is coming from under the earth. You got that supersonic energy. You got that supersonic energy coming from underneath the earth, right? The battery of planet Earth, the black sun, right? So like I said, this is not a direct energy weapon. This is not what you're seeing right here is basically natural. Yes, the deep state shadow government creates psychological operations to propagate something that's conducive to the timeline, because like I said, they only going to have this reptilian government. Once everything goes into a form of calamity, they're only going to have 1,000-year time cycle, which is one day in the heavens. Because like I said, when light breaks into a dimension, it reverses the polarity of time. So one day in the heavens is 1,000 years on planet Earth. No, one day on planet Earth is 1,000 years in the heavens, right? Because light travels at 186,000 miles per square feet. And the only thing that's faster than the speed of light is ether, right? Which is thought, right? Thought or thought. You know what I'm saying? It's not a coincidence that basically sounds alike. So back to this here. I still got some more visual aids that's showing you these activations on the planet.
This, you can also follow the link that's posted above to learn more about where this is happening and what is happening. You can also tune in to Fox 26 at 9 o'clock on the dot. If you don't have your TV in front of you, then you could go to fox26houston.com/live or just fox26houston.com and find the live mug in the corner of the screen, and you can watch this live right from your phone. But tune in so we can tell you a little bit more about what's happening here. So you can see the traffic is stopping. People are taking photos, parking on the side of the street. But what we have here is a situation that could get out of hand if it's not contained or controlled. So
like I said, that's another thing, a big misconception about these, everything in the material world starting to dematerialize. Big misconception. It's almost like some people, when they were saying, oh, the government, you know what I'm saying, they burned down all those homes in Hawaii and things of that nature. You can't negate the fact that when you really want something to combat the energy of mankind, everything has to be in a state of calamity. These homes, these businesses, like I said, a lot of people are not psychologically ready for what is to come, right? Because they still have an attachment to this material world. And that attachment in itself is the sleep spell of Leviathan, right? The sleep spell of King Gu, you under the spell of materialism. You know what I'm saying? Who gives a damn if these businesses go up in flames? Who gives a damn, you know what I'm saying, if your workplace or your job catches flames? Who cares about it? You know what I'm saying? That's how I know a lot of people, you know, they have a stronghold, they have an emotional attachment, because I told you your emotions is not real. Your emotions is acclimated to the material, and material is acclimated to the lunar cycle, and the lunar cycle has to phase out because it doesn't work in symbiotic connection with the sun cycle, which is your great balls of fire due to the activation of the energy of nature under a matriarch, right? So this is what's taking place. It's one of those things where people gotta, you know what I'm saying, who cares if all these homes or whatever, you know, burns down? You know what I'm saying? That concept in itself is created by mankind, because mankind has only temporal power on this planet. I told you, go to El's Holy Angel, Revelation 17:17. Evil reptilian gave power to the beast, gave the kingdom to the beast, right? The beast is the Canaanite. The Canaanite controls government. Government is under the energy of the matrix system. You're trapped in time. You're in the time loop. The time loop is connected to the moon. You go to the 1813 Bible that I had, that I just showed you, the Freemasonic Apocrypha, right? It tells you, right, verbatim, that the year 2023 is 5,999. So the year 2024 is actually the year of 6,000, right? The end of the 6,000 years. That's why it tells you, when you understand the mythology of Yakub, he said, I will create a people that will rule over you for 6,000 years, right? So all this works in symbiotic connection. All the mythology, you know what I'm saying, when you understand the teachings of the Nation of Islam that was propagated by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, right? So like I said, now, you go to Jeremiah. Hold on. Hold on for a second. I lost connection. You go to Jeremiah 4:7. It tells you that comes from this, is the great destroyer of the Gentile is on his way, right? Because the great destroyer in itself is the destroyer of the lunar cycle. So the lunar cycle is conducive to the material world, which is connected to the economic system, right? The financial system. So this is where, when you have the deconstruction, when you have the deconstruction, when you're talking about the power grid going out, that is going to be the inception point of when they're going to try to implement the BRICS crypto control system, which is a mark of the beast principle under the continuity of government, right? So this is where you're going to have the false messiah come into play when you, after the dollar collapses, right? Because when the dollar collapses, BRICS, the way their the digital currency system is working on the scale of I think it's like $55 to $1 or something like that. I haven't really looked into it, but I just know that it's connected to the food rationing passports. So that's why, you know, back in the beginning of, during the course of 2022, in the beginning of 2023, you seen a lot of the agriculture and everything starting to dry up and things of that nature. They're creating all this calamity. So that way you would have to convert to a smart city under the universal based income, to where you can have these resources that's being created by a technocrat government, right? Hold on for a second. My mouse keeps losing connection. So it's not a coincidence that all this stuff is going on, right? So this is why it tells you right here, the third statement, the book of true life, chapter 55, the purification of the world and the humanity in the judgment. And that judgment in itself, when you start to see these floods, right, which is descended upon Sodom. America is modern day Sodom and Gomorrah, right? However, the era you will also contemplate how humanity will be touched as the earth trembles by the force, and the forces is those tetrahedron energies that has a textural angular radiation, which is the centripetal and the central fugal forces, right? The force of the air and the water and the fire, right? These are the the elemental compounds, which is connected to the four horsemen, which is acclimated to the four elements of nature, the four alchemical elements, earth, wind, water, fire, right? So this creates plasma discharge. I shall again send you an arc. That arc is also conducive to a new law. It's also conducive to a ship. What type of ship? The mothership. When you're talking about the activation of the 144,000 as they deviate from the planet, as the planet is up in flames from the great balls of fire, right? Because the only way that you can combat the energy of this lunar cycle is unity consciousness that's being propagated by the 144,000, right? So now, with that being said, this is where we get into this. I got to bring this up since we're speaking on the 144,000, right? It says, will the 144,000 be under the spell when this occurs? No, we will not. Because I told you, you have to bring about a certain energy to this planet to raise up the ones who are lost. So like I said, it's up to you to have the mental fortitude to give out the edification to raise up the unity consciousness of the planet, right? So it's not a coincidence that you having a lot of people speaking out against the government. That's because, like I said, the activation of 144,000 is not acclimated to humanoid beings on the planet. It's a mental state. And it's also the unification of the mental state unifying with the physical state. You have the 144,000 crystals in the brain, which are the magnetites and the dendrites, to where it basically acts as a converter and an amplifier by transmuting itself into a crystalline state. So the body follows the mind. So when the activation of the magnetites and the dendrites is getting it from these solar flares, these great balls of fires that's hitting the planet, that's when you become crystallized as a physical vessel, right? Meaning that you're able to absorb these new energies that's coming on the planet, right? To where you become superhuman due to the activation of the Bathari gland that's connected to the hippocampus layer of the brain, right? So the 144,000 is also being chosen spiritually, mentally, and physically, right? Because the 144,000, the magnetites and the dendrites, that is the neuroendocrine transducer, right? And the carbon body is an electromagnetic generator and a light code transducer. You absorb these energies, right? You start to crystallize in the golden age, in the Aquarian age, right? And the Aquarian age is galvanized by the energy of Libra, right? Meaning that it's a personification of justice. The justice is not fighting physically. The justice is raising up your mental vibration to combat the energy of patriarchy under the lunar cycle, right? So it tells you right here, will the 144,000 be under the spell when this occurs? It says, no, you got to read this book by Dr. Malachi Z. York, The Great Balls of Fire Cast at Earth, right? Now have they pre-encoded at this time to break the spell by the awakening, right? And that awakening is predicated upon the DNA genetical structures, which is activated by the sound or his voice, the sound wave octave frequencies that's coming from the sun. That is what it's talking about. His voice, his frequencies. What frequencies? Cosmic radiation, right? That's why you see when you look at the Aquarian age symbol, you see him pouring a pitcher of water. That pitcher of water is pure cosmic radiation energy, right? So that is the Etherian energy, because the Etherian energy is operated by the order, the Sufi order of the Sons of Green Light, right? So this is why they're talking about these comets. These comets that's coming in, these comets are not actually comets, right? Comets are not green. That's Etherian energy that's coming to the planet that's connected to the Schumann resonance spike. So it's not a coincidence that the Schumann resonance is the color spectrum is acclimated to the Etherian energy, right? So now it says now is the time for genetic alignment. And that genetic alignment marks the end of the moon cycle, which symbolizes the evil one's rule and the beginning of the sun cycle, right? So this is the sun cycle that is basically connected to the energy of nature, to where you start to see new kingdoms and empires. So this is why you're starting to see a lot of statues and pyramids and monolithic structures that was hidden from us during the time of mankind, when he was controlling everything all throughout this corporate system, right? And it says right here, what will happen to those who are left behind, right? The left behind are basically the ones who are still under the sleep spell. I told you, everybody is not chosen. Just because you got carbon doesn't mean that you're chosen. Just because you got melanin and things of that nature doesn't mean you're chosen. A lot of people, carbonated, so-called black people, a lot of them are connected to the money. They're connected to religion. They're connected to everything that was created by the Canaanite, which is under the sleep spell of Leviathan, which is under the sleep spell of King Gu. They still under the sleep spell. So this is why I tell people all the time, you only have only about 15% of people on this planet who have a consciousness. The 85%ers are basically the NPCs. The NPCs, many that they don't have the critical thinking skills, to understand the dichotomy between good and evil, right? Because they so busy trying to work on the frequency of equality, but there's no such thing as equality under a patriarchal energy. That's why when you go to the courtrooms, the scales of justice is unbalanced. There's no such thing as equality in the third dimension. Equality is only activated by nature, which is connected to the higher planes of existence, the fifth dimension, the fourth dimension, the sixth dimension, the seventh dimension, the ninth dimension, right? That's where you only reap the benefits of equality, right? So it tells you, talking about the left behind, what will happen to those who are left behind? The ones that are left behind are basically, they will be overtaken by the Draconian reptilian for 1,000 years, right? For 1,000 years. And during that time period, you know what I'm saying? Where is it at? So like I said, it's not too late to be saved, but you get, you know what I'm saying? You have to deprogram your mind, right? Deprogram your mind, because like I said, you're going to be under that sleep spell, because it tells you that a lot of people won't have the ability to ascend because they're going to be wiped out by reptilians, right? Which is why it's under the seven thunders. This, when you're talking about the draconian reptilian mythology of those being left behind. So it's not a coincidence that this young man right here, right, this little boy, he is talking about the great tribulation, which is the great purification. The purification, meaning that the planet has to go through a purification process to get rid of those who are not acclimated to the energy of nature because they are under the sleep spell, right? So listen to this young boy right here. He's 9 years old. He had a vision.
Watching everything from heaven, and there were people getting ripped apart from the demons. There are people getting ripped apart.
I need you to understand something. A lot of people get so caught up into the semantics that's being propagated by biblical context. When you're talking about a demon, you're talking about an archon. A demon and an archon is the same thing as an elemental, and the elemental is also synonymous to a draconian reptilian. That is what they're talking about when they're talking about the war in the heavens with the angels and demons. You are talking about the Elohim, the Neteru, or the Anunnaki going against the draconian reptilians who went against the order of Anu, who was casted down and amalgamated with the daughters of man when you're talking about the Canaanite, right? I need you to listen to this young boy. He's 9 years old.
Watching everything from heaven, and there were people getting ripped apart from the demons. There were people getting ripped apart. There was an earthquake, and the ground just split open, and there were these demons, and they ripped, and they put their head through, and they started climbing up, through the crack, and they started climbing up through the crack. And like I said, the demons ripped people in half. They ripped them in half. Dark eyes, horns, their face was open. Their face was open like this, like some of it, like the mouth like the mouth was open. And some of the demons had double teeth, like the teeth was coming up from here, and everywhere. And the demons did some nasty things to the other people, even men and women and children. They did some nasty things to those children, mostly teenagers, but the teenagers, they were doing bad things. No, there were no babies left behind, it was just teenagers, adults. But wow, isn't having watching it.
So like I said, it's not a coincidence that all these, these kids, you go throughout my old videos or whatever, it tells you about these kids. I got videos of kids having many different visions that's connected to everything that this young man is talking about. So it's not a coincidence. So like I said, the left behind, everybody doesn't have carbon. Everybody doesn't have melanin. And just because you have melanin doesn't mean that you're going to make it to the next level. Doesn't mean that you're going to ascend, right? Because you're still following the ways of the people who cursed the people who are connected to the chosen land. You know what I'm saying? You following the ways of the oppressor. You following the ways of the Canaanite. That's because you got melanin, you know what I'm saying? You still have an encryption on your mental capacity. You have an encryption over your physical vessel. You following the beast, the Canaanite. You following the dietary system, right? You following his history. You following his biblical monotheistic teachings. You following everything that's being propagated by the matrix system. You love their money. You love their corporate system. You love your job, right? So you still under the sleep spell, meaning that there's a hex, an encryption, a hex, an X. These X-class solar flares is going to X you out. You're going to be left behind, right? So when you left behind, that is your judgment. That is the symbology of judgment. The hex is the X, right? Meaning that X marks the spot. You left behind in a state of judgment. And that inception point of the judgment starts on my birthday, Justice, October 14th, 2023. That solar eclipse amalgamating with the next solar eclipse in 2024, right? Not a coincidence. So now, when you left behind, this is another guy, he talking about his reptilian experience at Home Depot. Hold on for a second. My mouse. Come on. All right, watch this video here. This guy's talking about his experience when he was at Home Depot with a Draconian reptilian, right?
Shit people be talking about, man, that shit is true. I don't want to tell this fucking story. My neighbor insists that I do, so I don't know why he won't get on camera and say the shit, but I'm gonna say it. Was it Wednesday? Thursday. We went to Tractor Supply and we got some snake stopper. And we came back to the house. Our yards are connected. Right? Our yards are connected, whatever. So I'm putting some around my house. He put some around his house. And then we just kind of out there talking shit, doing it together for real. Me being clumsy, talking shit. I accidentally got some of the shit on us. So he's like, man, hey, pretty boy, you ain't got time to go back in the house and take a shower. We got to go back and get some more stuff. So we went back, got some more stuff, got in line. And it was my neighbor, me, and this mixed-looking guy behind me. The mixed-looking guy looked like he's about 35, 36 or whatever. So he kept sneezing. And his sneeze didn't sound like, it was like that. He kept on. And so my neighbor's like, man, yo, something weird going on with the guy behind. He sneezed again, and I turned around, like, this part of his face coming from his nose across this way turned scaly. His eye had a slit, but the slit wasn't up and down. It slipped sideways. The cashier see that shit. She runs to the back. We get our stuff. We go out. He eventually, I don't know if he paid for his shit or what happened. He came on outside. He was like, yo, fellas, please don't tell anybody about this. I'm just like y'all, man. I'm just trying to live here. I'm just trying to make a living like you. And I'm like, yo, we didn't see shit. We got the fuck on, and then my neighbor got in the car. Was like, yo, bro, I done seen this guy somewhere before. I think he worked at the courthouse. And I'm like, somebody like that working at the fucking courthouse, man. You believe what we just fucking saw? Yeah, it's making me think of the shit that we done seen on movies and stuff. Like I done heard plenty of people say like, hey, the stuff in the movies be true. That's how they get their true shit out. Like put it in the movie, like instead of telling us directly. Like, whatever about that. But that scene in Man in Black when Tommy Lee Jones was telling Will Smith, I don't remember exactly how he said it. He was like, oh, some of them just trying to make a decent living. Like, Will Smith, like, let me guess, cab drivers or something like that. And he was like, not many of them. And it was something like that he had said, but yo, like, no, middle of his face, down his nose, come across this way, turn scaly. His eye had a slit, but the slit turned this way. What the? So I'm assuming that snake stopper or whatever we was using triggered something in that motherfucker.
Whatever he said that, so you know what I'm saying, in order to experiment, this is everybody's, homework, you know what I'm saying, to see if these things can activate the revealance of these beings. Like you said, he got some snake stopper. So that's what made him sneeze and it basically made his avatar start to dematerialize into his original form. So get some snake stopper, you know what I'm saying? Put it around your house, keep it in your pocket, you know what I'm saying? Take it to work and see how certain people react to it, you know what I'm saying? So that'll be another way to, see what's really going on. Because like I said, it's either going to be happening from that level or like I said, the veil is being lifted. You know what I'm saying? The ozone layer is being depleted because the more that you have these energies coming in, the more that you're going to start seeing these beings, these draconian reptilians.
Like, yo, this shit is crazy. Like, and my neighbor, I think he's still kind of shook up about it. He ain't really saying much, but this is why he wanted me to come on with and say it. But I hope that God don't see this TikTok or whatever like that. If he do, please don't come for me. I'll delete this shit. Whatever.
See what I'm saying? So like I said, the veil is being lifted, right? And that veil in itself is the reversing the polarity of the sleep spell. You're not under sleep spell no more when you awaken. You awaken when you activate the Bathyry gland in the hippocampus layer of the brain, right? So like I said, everything in nature is activated to dematerialize the sleep spell. Nature So it's not, look, I need you to understand something. I told you that the Saturn Moon Matrix is not a coincidence that they call it the Saturn Moon Matrix because the Kaaba is connected to the Luciferian principles under monotheistic religions, right? Because, they all have a veneration of the cube of Saturn, meaning that you're trapped. You can't think outside the box. You can't think. That's what you're looking at right here in the background. This is in Mecca, the Kaaba in Mecca, right? Which is connected to Islam, Mohammedism, or whatever, that is Saturnian worship. Saturn is Satan. Satan is Saturn, Chronos, chronology, trapped in time. You're trapped inside of a box. You're trapped inside of a time loop, right? To where you cannot think for yourself. Because when you think outside the box, right, that puts you on the path of Malakut. When you're on the path of Malakut, that puts you on the path of the middle way to where you're not connected to everything that's connected to the material world, right? Because the material world, it works on external stimulation. Everything that's connected to the energy of nature, everything that's connected to your higher self is based on internal stimulation, right? So, you know, these are the activation of the four horsemen: earth, wind, water, fire, which is creates plasma discharge. So, like I said, it's not a coincidence. Their time is up. According to the Freemasonic 1813 Apocryphal Bible, right? Like I said, you got to pay attention to everything. Pay attention to nature. Nature is going to tell you when these calamities is going to come into play. Pay attention to nature and pay attention to the military. That is when you know something is about to pop off. You know what I'm saying? When you, whether it could be at the grid going down or whatever, pay attention to everything around you. You know what I'm saying? You can't be so oblivious to everything that's going on. You got to be very meticulous, and you have to be mentally calculated. Mentally calculated so much to the point where your consciousness is activated to your higher self, and your higher self gives you higher spiritual abilities to have discernment, to understand who's who and what's what, right? Because everybody ain't gonna make it. See, look at all these deers. They hiding from something. They trying to escape calamity, or the rain is very acidic, right? Not a coincidence. So, like I said, you got to pay attention to nature. Pay attention all around you, because when these new these calamities, you know what I'm saying, that's being activated by the plasma discharge of nature, right? You know what I'm saying? You got to be on point. You got to understand what's going on.
On my camera. I got it on my camera.
So look at this. You got these, like I said, the great balls of fire being cast to Earth. Ozone layers being depleted. S-class solar flares, M-class solar flares, activating the planet, activating the supersonic energy inside the planet, the battery of planet Earth, the black sun, right? You got a black sun inside the planet, and we are the black sun because we connected by carbon. Carbon is a building block of all civilization, because everything that's activated on the planet, you activate with it, right? So that is why, you know what I'm saying, due to the everything is activating, this is why they're trying to escape the firmament, right? I'm gonna show you this video. They've been trying to escape the firmament, you know what I'm saying, since Operation Fishbowl, right? But they can't escape the firmament, right? They stuck on this planet. The beasts and the corporate powers are stuck on this planet. They are stuck here. They can't do nothing. So, like I said, they've been trying to escape the firmament since Operation Fishbowl, right? And the reason they're trying to escape the firmament is because their time is up. As I said before, according to the Freemasonic Apocryphal Bible in 1813. So this is why when you create all these governmental enterprises and organizations, right? All these are basically psychological oxymorons, basically, right? Operation High Jump, where they discovered the ice wall. Then you got the Operation Deep Freeze, where they discovered the firmament. Then you got NASA, founded in 1958, right? It's not a coincidence you see the draconian tongue, right? The serpent energy. The firmament is the Van Allen belts, right? And then you got the guarding of the firmament that was propagated by the Arctic Treaty in 1959. Then you got Operation Fishbowl, to where they try to nuke themselves outside of the firmament because they trying to escape judgment. And then you have the hoax of the high of the firmament when you're talking about Apollo 11 mission in 1969, right? The fake moon landing, right? So, like I said, they can't escape the firmament because the stuff that they try to use ionized particles. You can't use ionization when you have gamma radiation and beta particles basically coming to planet Earth, right? These new energies that's coming in, gamma radiation, that is the highest frequency. That's the God frequency, right? So you can't fight frequency with the same frequency. That's like multiplying any number by 0, right? So they use it. So their technological devices, they try to escape the firmament with gamma radiation. It ain't gonna work, fam. It ain't gonna work. So something else I gotta show you. So that's why it tells you right here, just like in the beginning of the video I was showing you, it says that the year of 2030 is basically the end of the world that we know it, which is also connected to the Freemasonic Bible. So Dr. York put out this publication back in the 1970s and the 80s. So it's not a coincidence that they really came and got him, because the information that he was putting out is actually conducive to the timeline that we're living on. Because right now we in the sixth thunder, which is the changes occur, the signs in the sky, new planets, new galaxies, meteorites, storms, mass calamities, calamic alterations. You got global warming, spiritual revivals, or whatever, unity consciousness, and the respect for present world governments, leadership, and politics, right? This is where you're talking about chaos and order under a Hegelian dialectic principle to implement a new world order system that's only going to be have a foundation for 1,000 years before the chosen ones come back to basically combat the energy of the corporate system, right? So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, it's imperative that, you know what I'm saying, you raise up your mental vibration, because as the planet is speeding up in vibration, you got to raise up your mental vibration, and the body follows the mind, right? So that is the unification of you reaching your higher self, spiritually and physically, right? Because like I said, everybody's not chosen. Everybody's not going to reap the benefits of evolution and ascension because they're stuck in a fixed position reality, which is the afflictions of the three-dimensional state. And that three-dimensional state is a sub-mental state that is under the sleep spell of Leviathan, which is the sleep spell of King Gu. The King Gu is under the sleep spell of the moon, meaning that you're under the spell of materialism. You're under the spell of religion. You're under the spell of the Canaanite beast man. So when you're under their spell, right, there's no ascension for you. You stay stuck in third density to where you have this great separation. And when you have that great separation, this creates the unity consciousness aspect of the 144,000 deviating from those who are left behind, which is your 85%ers. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. End of transmission.